Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see so many interesting faces here. I would also love to welcome my panelists on stage because I cannot host a panel on my own. So please, Harald, Sipple, Mike, Charalambous, and Claes, can you join me? All right, we still have a little issue with the slide deck, as you can see. So Anne, I would suggest you can be Patrick today. Harald. So we had a small switch this morning due to one of the panelists being sick. So we're very happy that we could switch things up a bit, that we could still host this panel with some amazing panelists. So Harald, next to me, Harald Sipple is the CEO of Reverse Retail, the company behind Buddy and Sally and Vuitton Vogue, the leading online retailers for pre-loved premium and luxury fashion. Welcome, Harald.
Thank you.
And then we have Mike Charalambous, who is the CEO of...
Well.
Yeah, I did it good. Thank you. Thank you. I practiced a lot this morning. So, CEO of Threedium. Threedium is powering unlimited 3D and AR experiences, and they are shaping the future of spatial web commerce. And they have just secured an 11 million euro funding round to take this solution further to a global scale. So that's quite impressive. Congratulations on that. And then we have Claes, not Patrick, but she is my co-founder in our agency, MASJIEN. She's been working in fashion for over 20 years, and she has a great passion for innovation and technology. She didn't only co-found MASJIEN, but she also co-founded Web32, which is the Belgian Web3 movement, and Mutiny, a digital fashion brand. And today she is active as a consultant and project manager at our agency. Welcome to all of you. So we'll be talking a lot about data, about technology, about sustainability today. And Harald, you've been working in retail for quite a while, I can say. You have quite an impressive career already in the retail landscape. I can imagine you've seen the industry change a lot in the past 10 years, 20 years even. A lot of retailers are looking for new business models. We see a booming second-hand market. We also see maybe a bit of shift to digital and online. So I was wondering, can you enlighten us a bit on how this shift is changing the retail sector? How is pre-loved commerce changing? What role can technology or is technology playing in this entire shift?
Well, I mean, first of all, my background is more from finance. So, I think if you look at retail, if you look at second-hand, I think we founded Reverse Retail like 10 years ago. And by then, you just said, it's like 3 brands, so it's quite difficult. But why do we have 3 brands? We're going to change it this month. Because by then we said, okay, we purchase under Buddy and Sally, we sell under Vuitton Vogue, but we want to separate it because we didn't want to bring that together. And that, I think, has changed dramatically today. No one is ashamed of having second-hand anymore. It has become quite the opposite, that people define themselves by wearing second-hand fashion. And you see that a lot. Second-hand is booming. You see the new marketplaces like the Vestiaire, the Vinted, of course, eBay. But there is a lot of change in the market. What we see is that there's also a lot of smaller or a lot of retailers that want to go into this business. But it is a more complicated business than people at the beginning think about, because the whole logistic part, the whole cost part is dramatic. And at the end of the day, if you think about, let's say, a jeans, a Levi's 501, which costs like 23 euros in second hand, if you want to set up a circular business for that, it's a small cake for a lot of people, because obviously the seller wants to have its money. You have to transport it, you have to produce it, you have to ship it, and there might be a return. So I think that the logistic cost is something where we'll have to put a lot of focus on if we want to produce this to a bigger scale.
But maybe also technology is helping you there to improve these kind of systems?
Technology is extremely important for us in particular. We work a lot with picture recognition, because the key point is, because every product is a single product, it is very important to bring the long tail forward to the customer. So if the customer enters the shop, he will not look into more than the first 3 pages. And in order to present him the articles that are similar. Picture recognition is something that we regard as extremely important because it's the only way to show similar articles in a very granular data environment.
Yeah. So Mike, everything that has to do with visualization and so on, I think you can recognize that the technology part on your end is playing an important role there as well. You work for a lot of brands and companies that want to create a difference and implement technology. Can you explain a bit how you are contributing to this with Threedium?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most important thing that allows us to exist and grow as a company is the fact that, and I'm not sure how many designers we have here, is that the fashion industry is changing a lot. And what we used to know traditionally as fashion designers being people that they take the pen and they sketch, they're now becoming more geeks, right? So they use 3D files, they use 3D softwares. And that 3D software is the foundation for the new evolution of the internet, right? Our thesis as a company is that currently PDFs and PNG formats is what drives static content on the internet as we know it. But we live in a 3D world, and finally the internet is catching up. So now we're seeing more immersive experiences, more CGIs popping up, more AR, everything. So the world as we know it is changing. The way that we're browsing products, the way that we are creating content, everything is basically created through 3D files. So we've created this platform that we take these 3D files and we put them to use. So we allow brands, we allow designers, we allow agencies to take these 3D files, create content and make money and save money and boost their innovation and their content. And what we're seeing is that there's a plethora of opportunities shaping up through the use of 3D files because we are now able to create faster content creation. So, and we're able to mitigate waste of resources. So this comes from the industrialization phase of prototyping, let's say. You no longer need to waste materials or ship physical products back and forth for people to play with them, reconstruct them, change stuff. You have a 3D file, you quickly change materials on it, you change colors, you create a new prototype, you create multiple prototypes. And then you design a collection basically without touching any physical equipment. On top of that, the same 3D file that has used to create this prototype is now being used to create content for the web, for product pages, for e-commerce. And again, no physical products are being used. Then the same 3D file is now being used to create a gamified product where you can sell it in Roblox or you can sell it in a game environment. So again, one 3D file creates opportunities to sell your products in games. And then the same 3D file, you can take it and you create CGI videos for social media, or you can create AR experiences for in-store or whatever. So one 3D file creates all these opportunities, allows brands to create all sorts of data capturing points as to what they can use it for, what kind of impact it drives across every department, every step of the commerce strategy of a company. And then they evolve their operations, they evolve their opportunities of how they can maximize product impact, maximize customer-facing experiences, and the list is endless, basically.
Yeah. So do I understand correctly that on a sustainability level, you have different segments where you lower the impact? So in the design phase, the digital prototypes make sure that there's less materials being used, you have less prototypes. But then when it comes to e-commerce, also you have less of the shipping of prototypes for the photo shoots and so on. So we have also in the logistic part, lowering your impact. So in different steps of your value chain, the 3D is now lowering the impact. And do you see, is this also a reason why customers come to you? Do they think it's important, the sustainability element?
Sustainability is always in the forefront of all discussions, but it's not the immediate pain point that brands have. So everything they do is because they want to be sustainable first in how they're shaping up the new strategies as companies. But what drives them in this direction is cost saving, first of all, and the impact it has on the browsing experience of their customers. So from a cost saving perspective, imagine how much money, let's say, Fendi or or Dior or Louis Vuitton will be spending every day to rent a studio, to bring in models, to have a whole camera crew to take pictures, edit them, whatever. So it's electricity, it's rent, it's human resources, it's all this kind of stuff that to some extent they're kind of unnecessary these days because of the technology that exists. So we allow them to slash their costs by minimum 50,000 per day, right? So you can imagine how much money they're saving.
Yeah.
This adds utility per collection. Secondly, it comes on the impact that it has on the browsers. So when you have this autonomy to browse a product, when you're able to spin it, zoom it, see it on you, see it in front of you, put it on an avatar body shape that we were discussing yesterday so you can see how it fits on any kind of body size on the go. These are amazing capabilities that you offer to the users to start building a different type of trust when it comes to exploring and discovering products. And this allows the brands to see 150% increase on add-to-basket rate, or 60% increase in engagement per product, or 20% increase in conversions.
Yeah.
These are rates that they were not able to see before with static images or videos. So you understand that it's very interesting for the brands to start investing heavily in this kind of stuff.
So you mentioned digital avatars already. So up until now, we've been talking about how can we use 3D or new technologies to create physical fashion, so clothes we actually wear. But you also like to take it one step further when we talk about Mutiny, for example, the digital fashion brand that you co-founded. You also work a lot on digital fashion. Yeah, we often talk about it's like, is this some kind of solution? Maybe do we need physical clothes at all? So can you elaborate a bit maybe on that aspect?
Yeah, I believe that fashion in the end is a way of expressing your identity. It's not, we are not buying clothes nowadays because we are cold or naked. It's because we want to express something. It's part of who we are or what we would like to show around. And then of course for every garment that we would not produce in reality, but we would replace by a digital version, of course, this would create an immense impact. Because, of course, if you think producing a T-shirt is an average of 2,000 liters of water, etc., by just creating this similar garment in a digital version, it's only the water that the developer is drinking while he's doing it. So the impact, of course, is completely different. And especially as we have seen that the consumption pattern that a lot of people are having nowadays of buying, wearing it only a few times and then tossing it away, it's also something that we discussed about yesterday a lot in the first day of this panel discussions. It is a system that does not work anymore. So we need to tackle this and shift to another perspective. But at the same time, we are all in this room also because we like fashion a lot, and I think it's also part of a dream of this identity. So of course, if you can still express yourself in a digital way, this can definitely be a very nice alternative. And especially because nowadays we are spending much more time also on the internet. So you also see it a lot with younger generations, that they, for example, see that having a digital identity, owning digital goods is becoming more and more important. It's much more important what their avatar is wearing than what they themselves are wearing nowadays. So this shift is definitely creating opportunities. Am I convinced that physical fashion is dead? No, absolutely not. And let's hope not.
Good news.
But I do think that there are opportunities, to shift more than is happening already today. And as Mike was just saying, the files very often already start existing with the design in the design phase. But of course, you can use them also in so many different ways. Mm. And maybe a last aspect to see is that you also have digital fashion and you have virtual fashion. So indeed, virtual fashion for me is more about where you can use it in virtual environments, in gaming environments. If you see that the skin market in games is already billions, it's
skin
bigger
markets,
than.
Can you
Sorry, yes. So skins in games is really like the outfits that the avatars are wearing when you are playing games. If you see the numbers, like recently there was a new game that was launched, and in the first opening weekend, they calculated that the players who were just exploring the game, together they had spent 80 years in just choosing and styling their avatar. And this is something, that becomes more and more common, and people like to express again these digital identities.
Yeah.
And then, there are so many ways how you can use it and implement it nowadays.
Yeah. We already had quite some buzzwords on technology today: digital fashion, virtual fashion, 3D visualization. One word that's also an important one, I think, that we haven't talked about today is data. Data is very valuable to a lot of companies these days, and we're also, as consumers, getting more aware on being protective of our data and so on. But I think, Harald, maybe when I come back to you and the shift we see in retail and what you're doing with everything that's online and the data that you can use to actually change the shift, change the system. How are you using data nowadays?
Well, I mean, we're increasingly using artificial data and modeling of data because, for us, basically it's all about data. I mean, we speak about premium and luxury fashion, but at the end of the day, it comes down predominantly to data, because the first thing is you purchase something. Well, I mean, if you purchase something 100 times a year, then you know relatively well, for example, taking the Levi's 501 jeans, it's relatively simple. You relatively know, you have statistical methods, so you know what to purchase for, what to sell it for. There's some variances, so that works pretty well. But what do you do if you purchase something once a year or 2 times? You might not have sold it. Was it because the price was wrong? Was it because the article was wrong? Was it just bad luck? Was it just statistics that coincidentally no one wanted to buy it? So in second-hand, where every article is a single item, which is completely different to the rest of the, let's say, normal retail, data is the only thing that allows you to survive, on the one hand, in setting the purchase price, and on the other hand, in setting the selling price. Mm-hmm. So this is where data comes together, plus then, of course, the picture recognition. Because if you think about it, I mean, everyone in this room might just look at someone, look at his shirt or dress or blazer, close your eyes and open it again, you will recognize it. But imagine you find the same article on a platform, and be it eBay, be it Vinted, be it our company, and look only into article description without picture. It's not possible. I mean, basically, you think about it, the article description that we're doing if we upload an article actually is quite dull. I mean, it's a shirt, it's a dress, it's blue, it has stripes, this is the size, it's cotton, okay? Not very imaginative, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in order to really present articles, in order to make data modeling work, we combine data modeling and picture recognition, which is quite complex because you also need to do that real time. It requires a lot of infrastructure because if you want to show customers a similar article, or if you want to have similar articles that you purchased in the purchase situation in order to improve the pricing mechanisms, you need to do that in real time. So you need to do a lot of calculations in the background in order that the seller standing in front of our purchaser gets within 2 or 3 seconds a proper feedback. Yeah. So data is for us basically, it's all about data. It's more about data than it is about fashion.
That's
of course, we're only a fashion company.
That's an interesting statement, I think. We had the opportunity to chat a bit at dinner yesterday, and what intrigued me also when it comes to this story is I was telling you that in Belgium we help some fashion companies in making a switch to reselling and new business models, and often the fashion companies, they choose to go offline first because they feel it's better to get client feedback. I just install a small corner in my shop. I can take back items from my customers and then just resell them in the store. This is easier and it probably will work better that's their way of thinking. But then you told me no, online is way easier or is a better way to explore second-hand or reselling models. Can you elaborate a bit on that? On why that's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, offline selling second-hand offline is, it's a big topic currently, and I'm a bit more pessimistic on that one. I think there will always be the thrift shops where you have a passionate owner doing it. These will always exist because, you have someone who really loves it, who's good in it, who has a network, and this is, of course, always works. But if you think about it, think about eBay. If you go on eBay, let's say you need a dress for a nice event. It's whatever, a nice event you want to go to. You need a dress. You don't want to spend the full amount, or you want on purpose to have something secondhand. If you go to a thrift shop, how high is the likelihood that you find the right color, the right brand, the right size, that you find it in the shop? The shop will have 300 articles, maybe 600, 900. If it's huge, 2,000. It's multi-million on eBay. It's much easier to find it. And I think this is also why we are today talking about secondhand, because I think secondhand, it's nothing new. When I was young, secondhand was existing, but it was stigmatized because only people having the money would buy it, and it was very few available. Why is it becoming suddenly so available? Because it's going online and you have these huge assortments. And at the end of the day, it's basically a cloud of products. And because of these huge numbers, you suddenly can sort and find something. Whereas I think in these traditional thrift shops you go, and it is part of experience, and you might find something, you might not. But if you search something, you need to go to a big platform. That's why I'm a bit skeptical about the offline. I think offline works extremely well, of course, for bags, because there you don't have the issue of size. I think in principle, accessories and bags, so everything where size is not an issue, that works very well for offline. That's what you also find in like airports or the big cities. But whenever it comes to size, I think it gets very special.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do the buzzword bingo, and I'm going to go one further. Mike, digital twins. We haven't talked about those yet. Can you tell a bit what it is and how that is linked to sustainability and how you see the changes there?
Yeah, so going back to what I said at the beginning, basically digital twins is basically a 3D visualization replica of a real-time garment, right? So whatever you see in real life, you see it digitally in a 3D file or in a picture. And that is essentially the digital twin, because it's, let's say, it's like a holograph representation of your actual product, and then you take that holograph anywhere else that it ought to be, because you can't physically have it. It's as simple as that. Is there something specific that you want to dive on the digital twins concept?
No, I was just wondering, since you're working a lot on the visualization part, and we were trying to find the links between sustainability and how these digital twins might be able to lift it to a further level.
Well, since we're talking about data, I'm going to give you 2 examples of really what is happening today to understand how are we being recorded live?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to...
Are you going to give some confidential information? Because we can go for coffee after it.
So
I'm really interested if it's confidential.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a few examples of how bad, I'm going to use the word bad, the situation is right now for a lot of online shopping, right? In online shopping right now, we have specific KPI standards to measure success of a conversion site. And Charalambous is going to be able to add more value on that later on. But basically, right now, we feel that if a user goes on a site and they spend a lot of time on it, then then most likely they're going to buy something from it. And that's the key measure to define a success for a website right now, if it's a good website or not. But I'll give you 2 real examples of what happened that we've seen recently and how this changes everything. So there's this website that sells bags. It's not a great website, and a user dropped on it from some Google ads. It spent many minutes trying to figure out if he was interested to buy from that site. He couldn't find exactly what he was looking for. when he went to the product page to see the product, there was so many stuff going on. He didn't know where to start from. He finally found what he wanted, and he bought it because the price was so cheap. Now, someone that is monitoring on the back end, they're thinking, oh my God, I've done a great job. You know, that website is converting. The user came in, it spent minutes, he went to the product page, and then he then converted. So they're going back and they're patting themselves on the back that they're doing a good job on the website. But in reality, the customer felt really frustrated, and maybe he's not going to recommend that site to anyone else. Then another user on a different site that was selling bags, he landed there. The site was seamless, beautiful. He knew exactly what he had to click. He didn't have to click so many different buttons. He went to the product page. He loved the product, but it was a bit pricey, so he had to exit, go back and ask his wife if it's okay to spend $2K to buy that bag. But he didn't convert on the go. So someone monitoring that behavior is going to say, oh my God, the guy came on my site. They didn't spend that much time on it. They didn't convert. What's wrong with my site? Let's reconvene. Crisis, guys, you know? But so there's a lot of these outlier things happening right now, and our standard KPIs of measuring conversion and success are not actually reflecting the reality of today's consumer behavior. So things like what we can do with digital twins is that we truly give you an accurate representation of what users do with your products. So it's not just like a static image that you think that a person saw my image and that's it. No, we actually tell you what they do with the product. The same way that you would see them observing and playing with the product in real life. So if they pick it up from the hanger, if they turn it around, if they stretch the materials, if they put it in front of them to see what they do, we give them the same information on the website right now, so they can have a much more accurate understanding of the user behavior, regardless of whether they spent a minute or 40 seconds or 20 seconds interacting with the product. So the brands instantly understand how the users perceive their products and whether they checked out because of they like what they've seen or because of something else. And then we provide them more accurate data, which they can then use to build data libraries to then foster their AI personalizations and all this other good stuff. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting you tell it like that, because yesterday we had a panel on creating love brands. So what I hear you saying is like we're measuring everything. We're measuring conversions. We're measuring how people buy, do they return or not. But then in the end, what we want to do is get, from a sustainability perspective, I'm still working on sustainability, is we want people to fall in love with the brand or fall in love with the garment. And we want them, when they buy it, when they click, when they convert, to cherish it for a very long time. And I know we already had some conversations on it, like, we're looking for ways on how we can physically get people emotionally attached to items in a digital way, but technology can play a role in that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think, the technology stack nowadays is very, very broad, and there are so many ways, that you can implement technology in telling your story, because indeed fashion is also about much more than only the garment. If you look at digital fashion, for example, yes, you have only the 3D piece that you can use in certain ways, but you also have amazing animations where you also need to define the avatar, the surroundings, the music, etc. So it's a very powerful tool for storytelling. If you look also at virtual environments, even also CGI animations, etc. That really can broaden and enrich the whole storytelling. I think this is a very powerful tool to create love brands. On the other hand, I also think that there are also some platforms, for example, that give the opportunities to first engage with a project, with a product, and then is only produced later. So the whole production on demand strategy is also something that I think could be really a game changer. So instead of having this quick fix and maybe emotional impulse shopping, to also get more and more back to this phenomenon of wanting and longing for something, And if you have certain 3D tools that gives you the opportunity, maybe even for co-creation, that's also something that is a big shift. And we see a lot of opportunities nowadays that the audience is co-creating a product, or at least having opportunities to create certain selections, etc. It is also proven that if they are part of the design process, they are much more engaged. They will take better care of the products and repair or use it for a longer time. So I think there are a lot of ways of looking at it. Indeed. Yeah.
Maybe one final question on sustainability before I ask you all one wrap-up question. So already be alarmed that there's going to be one last question for all of you. But because now we talk a lot about technology and a lot of it is happening here, but what we also often forget is that one end of the fashion industry isn't that tech at all or that innovative at all, and that's actually the people who make our garments in the Far East. People are still sewing our garments in factories, doing repetitive manual work every day, and there is almost no digitization there. And we see issues with labor and with fair wages and so on. Yeah, I'm just wondering, is there a way where technology can play a role there? Also maybe to do something about fair wages or the situation there?
I don't think there's this magic solution, but I do think that transparency and understanding is definitely the biggest way forward, so people really understand what is the work that is part of creating garments. As Michele was already explaining this morning, I think the integration of digital product passports will definitely create a lot of opportunities there. Which, of course, it's also, again, their digital products not automatically need to be using blockchain technology, but, for example, having this transparency, having technologies that are able to guarantee us that the information that is shared, that it's actually true. I think that can create a lot of changes. And speaking of blockchain technology, another part which may also relate to some of the designers here is that also the remuneration of the creatives that are working in fashion is also sometimes not always that easy to trace, especially the second-hand marking is becoming bigger and bigger. All the brands are looking like, okay, how can we integrate it maybe in our own companies? But also for designers, if you work more like in a Web3 system, if you are selling certain designs backed up with a smart contract, NFTs, etc., it creates opportunities to have royalties also for future sales. So it has now been more like a pioneering testing situation the last 2 years, and we have seen a big hype in that. But what I would like to take away also from that is how can we, as a system, also create new opportunities to make sure that everybody in the chain gets the right rewarding. So, and I think the newest technologies definitely create opportunities there. Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap up our lovely conversation here because we only have 3 minutes left. So I'm gonna ask one final question, but also ask you to answer very to the point. And the question is my present to you, because if there was one key message you wanted to get across to the audience before you entered the stage, and you would thought like, okay, this is what I want people to take home. This is what I want to get across on the topic of technology and sustainability and how sustainability can drive, how technology can drive sustainability, or maybe one technology you think people should be aware of that it exists and can do really good things. What would it be, Harald?
Well, that's a difficult question.
And
but no,
maximum 1 minute.
I understood that. Yeah. No, I think. I mean, what is the key message? I mean, we're all talking about circularity. We're talking about sustainability. If we want to become sustainable, the easy thing to be sustainable is wear it longer. And I mean, fast fashion shortened the product cycles. So circular fashion and makes it longer, this is the best way to become sustainable. So I can only invite everyone to go and become circular and purchase more circular fashion, sell it, buy it, and we will work hard on finding technologies that the consumer experience for all of the customers is a good one, and that's something I think where we will need very much technology.
All right, Mike.
I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I have the right answer to that.
There's no right answer.
But if somebody's thinking, okay, where should I be investing? What kind of technology should I be considering when I'm building my tech stack for digital transformation as a new brand or as an existing brand? It's basically 3 frontier technologies, right? It's AI. It's not right there. It's not perfect right now, but it has a strong potential for the future. So AI, definitely visualization and the ability to amplify your storytelling across all your omnichannel touchpoints, and data. These are the 3 things that any brand should be investing right now. And then organically and naturally, that's going to educate them and show them the way as to how they can optimize and improve, not just from a commercial perspective, but also from a sustainability angle as well. And then anything else that I'm going to say now is just going to sound too boring, too fake.
Okay, thanks.
I think being curious, having an open mind. Of course, 3D technology and everything is out there on the internet. Everybody can learn it very easily and accessible. But I think my best advice would be to speak to younger people also, speak to the next generation, see how they are thinking, because for them, sustainability, but also inclusivity and how we look at fashion and shapes. I think there's a lot to learn by looking how they are interacting, how they are perceiving fashion. So I think having a lot of discussions with younger generations is very enriching and can definitely shift your view on what fashion is today and can become tomorrow.
All right. Thank you for this lovely conversation. My name is Jasmien Wynants from the agency MASJIEN. I hope we can all together push buttons and boundaries and drive the fashion industry towards a more sustainable one. I want to thank you all, Claes from MASJIEN, Mike Charalambous from Threedium, and Harald Sipple from Reverse Retail.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.